Joe Burrow is out for the rest of the year. What should fantasy managers do about it? Mark Andrews is out also. Same question. La misma pregunta. Matthew Stafford and Justin Fields, maybe they're doing thumbs up, or they're coming back from a thumb injury. How can we trust them for fantasy purposes? And Keenan Allen playing through a shoulder injury. He's a dog. What should we expect? Well, you know what you can expect? The best injury advice right now, because right now we are on the Injury Prone podcast. Make sure you following us on YouTube. Make sure you're getting the most up-to-date injury news, database analysis to help you win your league. You can find me. I'm Jorge Martin. You can find me at Jorge Martin 17. Find all my work at Yahoo. I just did something, a little collaboration with my compadre. Here he is, el doctor, Edwin Porras. You find him at fantasypoint.com. Mi amigo, ¿cómo estamos?
Well, man, estamos bien. Aside from Mark Andrews' injury, that's a killer. Joe Burrow, I didn't have a ton of. I didn't have a ton of Jamar Chase or Bengals, to be honest. But that's also a killer. I understand that. We'll get into that. But hey, I don't want you to pass this. Feliz cumpleaños. It is Jorge's birthday. He is the ripe age of 23 years old. One of my best friends in the industry. One of the most genuine guys. I wanted to tell him happy birthday, Feliz cumpleaños. Otherwise, he'd just skip right over it. He just skipped right over it. He wouldn't mention it. He's too humble. His daughter surprised him for his birthday. So we're gonna try to get in and get out today. We're gonna let him get suited and booted. He's gonna go to his birthday dinner. But happy birthday, feliz cumpleaños. I'm not gonna sing you the mañanitas because you don't want me to sing to you. But I will tell you feliz cumpleaños, and then at the end you'll tell me your favorite birthday meal, your favorite Mexican birthday meal.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Favorite birthday meal, favorite. Oh, yes, favorite meal everywhere. But yes, muchas gracias, compadre. Yes, I love my birthday. It's been a great day. It's been a busy day, but awesome, just awesome. And yeah, heck of a surprise. And so now the best part about it is we can go out to dinner, and if I want to have an extra trago de tequila, I got a designated driver for us. If my wife and I both want to have an extra margarita, Solana is going to take us home. So it's going to be
got it, because Solana College does not drink. She studies, she goes to class, and she hangs out in the, what do the kids do, like the commons area or whatever. She does not drink, does not touch alcohol. Jorge, don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
I won't even let her tell me otherwise. So no, I have all my thoughts as a father just set off to the side. But well, let's get back to the thoughts. Injuries. Okay, we got a lot going on with guys. Dameon Pierce returned to practice. We got Tyler Lockett. He was a DMP Wednesday, Thursday. We're on the West Coast, so we're going to find out whether he's back on practice later today. Antonio Gibson doubtful with a toe injury, something he's had before. Dallas Goedert not been added to the IR. I want to find out what your thoughts are on that. And now Pat Freiermuth, the Muth, on the Luth from the IR. What are some of your thoughts on these guys?
Well, I think the first one to mention that's immediately going to affect us, and my wife's going to come in, so you might hear my dog barking. If we do, I'll mute it and we can sort of re-record it. But what I think primarily about, wow, they're not barking. I think he's asleep. What I think primarily about Antonio Gibson first is that he's had this before. You mentioned it. He's doubtful to play. This is really going to increase the role that Brian Robinson has been honestly running hot, and this is only going to continue to help, I think, his hot streak. I don't know if you have any thoughts there.
I think honestly, I mean, they're starting to use. I actually thought it was an accident that they were using Brian Robinson in the, or not an accident, but just kind of like just an unusual occurrence. And now all of a sudden, I think we're seeing why, and it's a big reason why someone was trying to pawn Antonio Gibson off on me earlier today. I said, "Did you not know it's my birthday? You don't do that to people on their birthdays." So. So we don't do that, but I think I definitely on that one. Pierce, I mean, with so much missed time, do you think, and also Devin Singletary, do you think? I mean, I'm worried he's becoming irrelevant and almost droppable.
Yeah, I think he's close to droppable. He's got this high ankle sprain. He's not necessarily the archetype of player we expect to bounce back quickly from this. You see about a 20% dip in fantasy production from running backs coming off of a high ankle sprain anyway. So, Yeah, I'm not really interested in him. I think Devin Singletary is sort of going to continue to thrive, and probably not 100 plus scrimmage yards and touchdowns and multiple touchdowns, but I do think that he's going to be usable as far as that goes. And then I think the primary guy that I do want to talk about, Dallas Goedert here, just to mention, he has not been placed on the IR. That doesn't mean anything yet because the Eagles were on bye last week. So they didn't have to place him on IR because the bye week doesn't count towards the IR required 4 week absence anyway. So what you'll probably see is they're giving him as long as possible without having to place him there. And if you do see him placed there Saturday afternoon, then that's a good, obviously he's going to miss 4 weeks since then. But until we see that, I am projecting Dallas Goedert to return by week 13 or 14 with some sort of brace or some taping, something. I think it's going to be sooner rather than later on Dallas Goedert. So I don't think he's droppable quite yet. Throw him on your IR and see what happens.
Okay. Yeah, that was one. Now, one thing to keep in mind that a note that I came up with was in 5 games that he missed last year, I think weeks 11 to 15, Devonta Smith had at least 8 targets in every one of those games. So keep that in mind when it comes to when it comes to playing Devonta Smith in that time. So, yeah, well, compa, let's get into the main course. Okay, so we got. It's not fun. It's just not fun. Joe Burrow out for the season. I mean, he was starting to play so well. The offense was starting to look good. Just, I mean, what kind of timeline are we looking for first off?
Yeah, so I was, this morning I was planning to come on here and discuss. It's going to be this timeline. You can look at it either getting an injection coming back in 1 to 2 weeks, or he's going to need some sort of arthroscopic debridement where they go in and trim it, and then he can be back in 4 or 6 weeks or something like that. Or is going to be worst case scenario, it was going to be a season-ending injury. That's exactly what happened. What we assume happened is that he has what's called the TFCC injury and a ligament tear is what the reports have confirmed. So really, you just have to go in there, repair the ligament. He'll be back. This is probably something that's not going to go away for the rest of his career, but I don't think it's going to impact him in any significant way. He could re-injure it, but he should be back and ready by week 1 of 2024 without any really lingering issues. So if you're in Dynasty land, I'd go out there and try to grab him.
Yeah, that's been one thing that I mean, and it's just a big downgrade to the entire offense all around. I mean, I honestly look at Jamar Chase as almost being the only guy to target on the offense. You're going to play Joe Mixon a lot. They're going to lean into the running game. But in the passing game, I'm almost going to sit T. Higgins. And I look at Jamar Chase. I look at the kind of the example is what Garrett Wilson is getting. I mean, he's getting, 12, 13, 14 targets a game his last 4 weeks. Devonta Adams with the quarterback going with the backup. He had 13 targets last week. They may not be pretty targets, but you know what? Hopefully, with volume, he's going to get home, and he did get a touchdown at the end of the game yesterday. So we'll see about that. Mark Andrews, also out for the season. I mean, it was just ugly. And by the way, Familia, make sure that you're checking out the Yahoo Fantasy article that I put out today on both Mark Andrews, and I added in a little bit of something on Joe Burrow. Mi amigo here provided a great quote for that. So muchas gracias for that. But Mark Andrews, that ankle injury, the injury looked pretty ugly. And what kind of for Dynasty also, what's his big prognosis for recovery?
So the thing about these ankle injuries is they called it a cracked fibula. So really, it seems to be a relatively straightforward, general just fracture that's going to need to take time to heal. Now, we have seen, I don't have the numbers on tight ends because I just don't have that, big of a database for tight ends, but I do have a database for wide receivers. And what you see is since really the sample goes back to like 2015. Philip Dorsett fractured his fibula, came back in 7 weeks. Randall Cobb fractured his fibula, came back in 10 weeks. As you hear my part husky dog whining in the background, absolutely nobody tells you when you get a husky how annoying that voice is going to be. Anyway, so the Randall Cobb, Philip Dorsett, 2 guys who came back basically between 8 and 10 weeks. That's on the table for Andrews, but there are also guys who took 3+ months, and not just because the schedule sort of ended that way. They fractured it early in the season and just couldn't come back. OBJ, Christian Kirk, Terrell Pryor, DJ Chark, Adam Thielen, Michael Thomas, obviously sort of an asterisk there. Kevin White. Those guys all didn't come back. Wide receivers couldn't come back before the 3-month mark. That's really the standard. What you look at is about 3 months. Now, you look at Cooper Kupp from last year, who he was eyeballing about an 8-week return, which would have been pretty absurd. but with that tightrope procedure. That is something that is possible. But when you look at the physicality side of it, when you look as a physical therapist and a sort of performance-based mind, you look at Mark Andrews. He's a big boy, and even though he's a big boy that moves fast, he's still a big boy. That's a lot of weight and a lot of force, a lot of shear through the foot ankle complex. That's going to be tough for him to come back from super quickly. But again, don't count him out yet. If the Ravens make a deep playoff run, I do think it's plausible that he makes a return. But again, for the rest of the regular season, he's probably done. And in terms of dynasty, I guess I didn't answer your question. I'm still acquiring Mark Andrews. I'm not too concerned that this should turn into, a Michael Thomas situation is really like the 1 percentile outcome. The chances of that happening are super low. Not impossible, but super low for Mark Andrews. So I'm still acquiring him, but you're probably going out there to. I haven't even looked at Isaiah Likely's targets from last night, compadre. So you tell me, what's that look like?
Dos, and they both fell to the ground. So he ran 29 routes yesterday, and the lead route runner was 33. So he was definitely out on the field a lot. But honestly, just in looking, I did a little analysis.
So he's getting cardio, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he was getting cardio. Yeah, getting cardio. I think. He did have a game last year where he got 8 catches for 103 yards. But earlier in the season, he had when Mark Andrews was also out, he only had 1 catch for 4 yards. So the guy I'm really looking at is Zay Flowers, because they were looking at him in that 0 to 10 yard. Kind of like that short to intermediate route, and he had a 68-yard touchdown called back. So Zay Flowers is the guy is my guy out of that offense to really look at on this one. So keep an eye on that one. And okay, well, we're going to double up on this next one. Matthew Stafford and Justin Fields, since they're both coming off of thumb injuries. And they're obviously different ones. Stafford has the history of one, I believe it was 2 or 3 years. It was 3 years ago. It was before he got traded to the Rams. What are kind of like return to play, and with Fields playing in cold weather, is that potentially an issue?
Right. So I think number one for Matthew Stafford, who can we trust for fantasy purposes between Stafford and Fields? Honestly, neither. But if I had to choose, specifically not considering the pieces around them, I'd probably trust Justin Fields just because of that floor with the rushing. But when you look at Matthew Stafford in particular, he's done this before where he ruptured the entire ligament, which is very different, we assume, at least from this specific injury that he's having. But the last time that he tried to play through this injury, again, it was more severe. It was a few years ago. He went 18 for 33 for 178 yards, didn't throw any touchdowns. Obviously, now that he's in the Sean McVay system, Sean McVay's going to be able to scheme for him a little bit better than that iteration of the Lions were able to, by a large degree. So I guess you can. I would still trust. I want to get your opinion. I would still trust Cooper Kupp. I would still trust, Puka Nacua. But it is something that is going to be. It's going to keep him sort of his ceiling and his floor sort of suppressed. When you look at quarterbacks who came back from thumb injuries, specifically, they score a mean of 15 points per game with a median of. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. They score an average of 17 points per game and a median of 15 points per game. So really, when you look at the situation as a whole, you can probably expect somewhere between 12 to 15 points for Matthew Stafford. If you're lucky, maybe a little bit more than that. In terms of Justin Fields in particular, he's a little different in the sense of like he tends to be a little bit more reckless in the pocket. He tends to sort of scramble a little too late. He holds the ball for too long. We know that's an established thing for him, but he does run. So his re-injury risk is probably higher than Matthew Stafford's is, just landing on his outstretched thumb like that. And we don't even know that his ligaments are intact, to be 100% honest. This is something that maybe he's trying to go through, and they know that he's got ligament tears that they're going to try to address in the offseason, but he's going to try to come back and play this week. So because of his ceiling, Justin Fields has somebody that I would more rather insert into a lineup. But I'm not necessarily trusting either from that perspective. To keep the game competitive, Fields is going to have to run, though. And if you're looking for ceiling, if you're a 500 team and you have this, and you could very well be sitting in a position where you have to choose Fields or Stafford, and I'm 500, and I know next week I have a juggernaut that I'm facing, and I just need upside this week, I'm probably going the Fields direction. I'm living with the result, even if that result is, 7 points or whatever it is. Because Stafford's ceiling, and you knew Stafford's ceiling before he came into the game, before he came into the season, before he had this injury. And Fields' ceiling, and that's really what it comes down to. It's really more of a preference thing and a strategy thing, but I don't know how much of that you agree or disagree with.
100% agree, because I mean, Fields is a guy who could add 100 yards rushing and Stafford just doesn't have that. So and what's going to happen is he's going to have to put up points this week, because the Detroit Lions, they're going to put up points all over the Bears. This game's going to be in Detroit. That game's going to run. They're going to score 30, 35, 30, 35, maybe even 40 plus points. And so Fields is going to have to be dynamic. He's going to have to be a runner, and he might be the only person who can run in that one, because he'll be out in space and kind of like breaking down the pocket, because the Lions just don't give up just don't give up anything to running backs. So, but yeah, and DJ Moore definitely he's boosted up. But I also like the fact that they're playing indoors, so that should help. Hopefully that'll help him with the grip strength there too. I do kind of worry about that. I mean, just those things just don't work as well when it's cold. So as you're about to find out, mi amigo, as you're about to find out. Last one in the main course, Keenan Allen. It looked like he was out for the game last week. I was really following that game on Sunday, and then he catches that long pass for on fourth down, takes that touchdown to tie the game. But residual impact for this, could there be some that could slow him down, which would be devastating to the Chargers offense?
Yeah, so this is a situation that we're facing. We faced it before with Devontae Adams in week 5, coming back from a pretty severe, significant shoulder injury. And this is an injury that Keenan Allen himself has faced on the opposite side. I know there was that the shot they showed of Keenan Allen's shoulder where he had that, it's called a step-off deformity. That's what happens. That's what a true separated shoulder is when your clavicle sort of lifts up like that. That's what a separated shoulder is. And Keenan Allen's had this before. So he's practiced in a limited fashion. The thing about these injuries in particular is that it's going to be difficult for him to raise his arm over his head, efficiently. And if he lands on that side again, it's going to be painful as hell. So it's not so much that you're worried about a situation where he can't necessarily perform. It's just a matter of pain tolerance and really not having a re-injury. So his re-injury risk is really pretty high this week. So it really is I'll be interested to see what happens with a guy like Keenan Allen. He's not a guy that you should ever fade, right? We learned that with Jamar Chase. Like we talked about it last week. Don't fade Jamar Chase. He had limited targets, but look what he did with those targets, right? Keenan Allen's in the same boat. If Keenan Allen goes from, 15 targets a game or whatever it is to 12 or 11, like that's still enough for Keenan Allen to get home. He can still catch, a slant and a crosser or whatever and score and pay off for you. So you shouldn't necessarily fade him. Maybe he's more of a cash game fade. But I don't know what you think, compadre, about Keenan Allen and the offensive situation around him. Like, does this potentially lead to more targets for Austin Eckler, which nobody would complain about? We also see that Gerald Everett is out and Donald Parham is in. They're obviously, Quentin Johnson, I don't think is it. So what is going to happen? Let's say that they're scheming and game planning this week and they know that Keenan Allen is going to be limited. Who are the guys that you would expect to step up?
I think it's going to be the Allen and Eckler show. I think honestly, it's just the two of them. I think I could see Allen getting 10 plus targets on this one, just to maybe kind of not putting him so much over the middle where he could take a hit, which is tough because he's a slot receiver. But yeah, I mean, I think they're going to try and protect him. There's going to be a lot of Eckler because not only that, the Green Bay Packers are traditionally not a good team against the run, so they're going to run him and also get him out of the backfield. I think those are going to be the two top pass catchers on the team. Quentin Johnston, maybe they scheme him up some stuff. Maybe he grows up a little bit more as a bona fide NFL receiver. Things are still kind of rough for him, but they got him a touchdown last week. Maybe it kind of breaks things loose. Jalen Guyton is one guy to keep in mind, though. He got through. He scored a touchdown first year back from ACL surgery. He looks healthy. Maybe
I will say he was added to the injury report, by the way, with a groin issue.
Oh, ay Dios mío.
So be careful with that one, I'd say. I know that just came through just like a few minutes ago.
Oh man, so maybe it's just those two. It's like hey, Herbert, Allen, and Eckler, just them against the world, them against Titletown. So
it always seems to be. I listened to the Dan Le Batard show, which was really funny, and a few years ago, they had a running bit, or it was a joke that it was like. It's always because at this point it was still Phillip Rivers, and they were like, at the end of the day, it always comes down to Phillip Rivers and Keenan Allen on 3rd and long. And how funny and true is that? It always seemed like, in the way that the Chargers have lost traditionally over the last 10 years or whatever it is, it's always Keenan Allen and Phillip Rivers and or Justin Herbert. It's like that guy. I don't know. This is a long debate. I don't like these debates, and I think they're dumb. But I saw somebody say that Keenan Allen isn't a Hall of Famer. I don't know what the hell the criteria is. I don't understand if that's really the case or if that's actually true, or maybe it was just a hot take. But I don't know how that guy doesn't get into the Hall of Fame, man. He's been an absolute legend his entire career. So somebody tweeted a video of all 10,000 of his career receiving yards. It's hilarious. It was 2 hours long. Didn't see that?
That was amazing.
Absurd. Just
that was
absurd.
Amazing. That was like
Show Keenan Allen love, though.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, 10,000 yards is like 500 home runs in baseball. I mean, that's supposed to be like the easy walk in, and that's what he got. So, hey, you know what? Until he, I mean, maybe they think he's supposed to do it in the Super Bowl or something like that, but I don't know. He's in a Hall of Fame for me, and I've only been watching him up close for a few years. So him being in my backyard. So compa, let's make sure people are going to their backyards, into the Patreon backyard. So if everybody, nuestra gente, patreon.com/injuryprone. You're getting in there. You're going to get more on guys like Devon Achane, our amigo there. So, and Edwin's had some great comps to Nick Chubb there. Justin Jefferson, does he come back? Garrett Wilson, Mike Evans, Puka Nacua, Pat Fryermuth, so much more. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/injuryprone. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe to the Injury Prone podcast. Make sure you're here on YouTube and come in, and give us a like, give us a subscribe. Por favor. Okay, mi amigo, you wanted to know my birthday, my favorite birthday meal. So since I was 7 years old, every year my mom, it was usually on my birthday. Now we pick a day. Homemade enchiladas. Mom's homemade enchiladas. Mama Martin's homemade enchiladas. I don't know. There's something about it's different than all the other ones. The only problem is that in my later years, I've become lactose intolerant, so I have to bring like other kind of cheese. So, but hey, you know what? Still tastes good. A little cebollita, maybe some chicken sometimes, or maybe just some cheese and cebollita. Oh,
that sounds beautiful. That sounds wonderful, man. I hope you get some tonight. Are you getting some enchiladas tonight then?
Not tonight. We're setting a date. We're setting a date for later. So
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I want you to enjoy your birthday, man. 23. You're only 23 once, and I want you to really enjoy it. I really do want to wish you a happy birthday, though. This was a good one. This was a quick one. A lot of information, but I have nothing else to add. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Jorge Martin 17 at FB Injury Dog. Like Jorge said, rate, subscribe, review the podcast. That really does genuinely help us. So please do that. And if you want a little bit more, go follow Jorge Martin, and you'll see all of his work at Yahoo, and then the Patreon for more injury stuff. Patreon.com/injuryprone. I'll let you land the plane, Jorge.
Oh yeah, stay healthy, everybody. Stay healthy, everybody. Get ready for Thanksgiving. Eat your salad now, because it's gonna be, you get the good stuff next week. But hey, stay healthy. Salud.